Hello, I am Dr. K. Paul Stoller, and this video is based on my longer Substack piece, When Sacred Sexuality Stops Being Sacred, or how the dying guru archetype found new life in Neo-Tantra. Nearly 30 years ago, I had an experience in dream space. I found myself at Mount Carmel in Waco, Texas. There was a preacher speaking to a room full of adults. I'd never seen him before, and I didn't know who he was. He was quoting the Bible, but he was twisting it, taking familiar words and bending them until they meant whatever he wanted them to mean. And everyone around me was taking notes. Nobody questioned him. Nobody challenged him. Finally, I looked around the room and said, "You don't believe this shit, do you?" That dream stayed with me because this preacher got right in my face to challenge me. I've been studying what I call the guru archetype since I was a child, and for a while I thought the guru archetype was dying. I was wrong. The guru didn't die. He changed clothes. Yesterday's guru might have worn robes and sat above his followers. Today's may call himself a facilitator, a somatic healer, a sacred sexuality coach, a masculine embodiment guide. And increasingly, we're seeing this in the world commonly called Neo-Tantra. Now, let's be clear. Traditional Tantra is an enormous collection of Hindu and Buddhist spiritual traditions involving meditation, ritual, philosophy, mantra, yoga, and cosmology. It was never simply an exotic Eastern word for having lots of sex, but something happened when Tantra came west. It became mixed with the sexual revolution, New Age spirituality, Western psychology, the human potential movement, and more recently, the language of trauma healing. And out of that emerged an industry promising sacred sexuality, erotic liberation, kundalini awakening, trauma release, divine masculine and feminine activation. There's nothing inherently wrong with adults exploring sexuality or intimacy. That's not my concern. My concern begins when sexuality becomes entangled with spiritual authority. Imagine someone arrives at a retreat carrying sexual trauma. She wants to heal. She's removed from her normal environment. She's surrounded by people expecting transformation. There may be intense breath work, emotional exercises, touch, rapid intimacy, and altered states. And then she encounters someone who supposedly understands her better than she understands herself. Now imagine she says,
"I don't want to do this."
That should end the discussion. But what if she's told,
"That's your trauma speaking. Your ego is resisting. You're afraid of intimacy. You need to surrender."
Suddenly something extraordinary has happened. Her boundary has been converted into evidence that the boundary needs to be overcome, and that is dangerous. I've watched this mechanism my entire life. The preacher says,
"God told me."
The cult leader says,
"You aren't spiritually advanced enough to understand."
the guru says,
"Your ego is resisting enlightenment."
and the predatory sexual facilitator can say,
Your trauma is preventing you from surrendering.
different vocabulary, same architecture. If you agree, the teacher is right. If you disagree, your disagreement proves the teacher is right. It's a closed system. And this isn't entirely theoretical. Organizations operating in the neo-tantric and sacred sexuality world have faced serious allegations involving sexual coercion, boundary violations, and psychological harm. Some participants entered these environments specifically hoping to heal previous sexual trauma. Think about the vulnerability in that. Someone arrives with a wound, and the wound itself can become the point of access. And then there may be another phenomenon considerably less sophisticated than ancient Tantra, for the fuckboys have discovered spirituality. The old pickup artist learned techniques. The modern spiritual seducer learns vocabulary. He doesn't say, "I want to sleep with you." No, he wants to awaken your divine feminine. Release your blocked kundalini, help you surrender into your body, and remarkably, his spiritual interventions seem to require an extraordinary amount of sexual access to women. At some point, Occam's razor deserves a seat at the retreat. But women who enter these environments aren't stupid. Intelligent people are manipulated every day. Manipulation doesn't necessarily enter through intelligence. It enters through need, the need to heal, to belong, to be loved, to feel desirable, to make sense of trauma, to believe our suffering had some greater purpose. A skilled manipulator doesn't attack intelligence. He finds the unmet need. So, here's my test for any spiritual teacher. One word, no. Say, I don't want to participate. I don't want you touching me. I don't want to have sex. I don't believe what you're telling me. And then watch what happens. A trustworthy teacher respects the boundary. A dangerous one interprets it. If your no becomes evidence of your trauma, your fear, your blocked sexuality, or your spiritual immaturity, get up and walk out. I am not attacking Tantra. I'm not attacking sexuality. And I'm certainly not suggesting every neo-tantric teacher is a predator. Human sexuality can be profound. It can involve intimacy, vulnerability, bonding, even transcendence. And perhaps that's precisely why it deserves more discernment, not less. No genuinely sacred path should require you to surrender your ability to recognize your own boundaries. No teacher should need to convince you that no secretly means yes, and no amount of incense, Sanskrit terminology, breathwork, kundalini, or promises of enlightenment can transform exploitation into transcendence. Maybe the guru archetype really is dying, but it hasn't disappeared yet. It learned new words and took off the robes.
When someone tells you that violating your boundaries is necessary for your spiritual growth,
perhaps the most spiritually evolved thing you can do is walk out. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe. Stay safe and use your discernment.